Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm David.
And this is the Practical Guitarist Podcast.
The podcast for people who eat, sleep, and breathe guitar. The Practical Guitarist Podcast is brought to you by Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Great Lakes Guitar Pickups provides fantasy tones at prices a practical guitarist will love. Featuring top-notch construction, attention to detail, and a fully custom product, if you can dream it, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups can probably build it. Follow them on Facebook at facebook.com/Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Are you a regular listener? Why not? David here reminding you of all the ways you can participate in the Practical Guitarist Podcast. Subscribe using your chosen podcast app. Review us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Google Play. Find our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/practicalguitarist or on Twitter as @practguitarist. Support the show. Merchandise is available in our Threadless store at practicalguitaristpodcast.threadless.com. And donate to us via Patreon, available at patreon.com/practicalguitarist. Reach out to us directly via email at questions@practicalguitarist.com. Hello, Jim.
Hello, David.
I'm glad that you could join me on this Christmas Eve of Eves. That would
Christmas
be
Eve
of Eve.
I guess this is the day after Festivus.
Festivus for the rest of us.
So a little something. So I was playing Words with Friends, and one of the words that they recommend is Festivus, and I said, "Oh, come on, that's not real. It's not real.
It is now.
It's become it's real with a bunch of people that have ever seen Seinfeld. I've never seen Seinfeld. I don't see it as real.
I don't. I substitute your reality with my own. I substitute your reality with my own. So, Jim, do you see this?
What's that?
I'm holding in front of the screen right now a little post with two springs hanging off.
Yep.
You know what this is?
No.
This is
I guess
the Z stop for the ZR tremolo from Ibanez. I took it out. I wanted my bar to flutter, so I took it out. But it's one of those things that, like, if you didn't know what that was, you're like, what is that? What the hell is that?
What the hell is that?
It's just a little bar with two springs on it. Yeah. So to start the show off, this is a kind of a holiday special thing. To start the show off, I thought I would go to Guitar Center's used site and bring up some of the fodder that's for sale right now. Some interesting things, some not so interesting things, some things that are way overpriced. Right. And maybe I'm just saying they're way overpriced, but in my honest assessment of what the piece of equipment is, they're overpriced. So of note, cool things. There's an Engel iron ball head. It's a 25.5 and 1 watt amp down at Naperville store. I'm looking at Guitar Center side, by the way.
Right.
They want $800 for that. I think it's a little expensive, but nevertheless, it's a cool head.
Yeah, that sounds expensive, but.
All right, so here's one that you'll love, Jim. A Crate VTX 350H solid state guitar amp head. $299.99.
That's about $299
more than you could pay me to take it away. Okay,
you would have to pay my gas money to get there, and still have to pay me to take it.
I'm not going to provide you a certificate of destruction, but you can trust it will not survive. Cool though. There's some classic 30s around. Here's one at Arlington Heights Guitar Center for $350. There's another one down here for $375, I believe. Yeah. But I actually, the one that jumped out at me, I was like, we got to talk about this on the show. Two Rock Studio Pro 35 tube guitar amp head. $2,000 used. No. I mean, yes, I get it. Like, some people are really after the Two Rock thing. Yep. But I mean, $2,000 for
what is Two Rock supposed to be?
Alike?
Right.
Well, this one might be more the Dumble vein, but it's a 35 watt head. I mean, it was loud enough to gig with probably, but
Yeah.
tried to zoom in so you see the
Easily.
knobs.
A 35-watt 2-rock, you could easily gig that. You could gig that with a 2x12, even a 1x12.
Well, I'm just saying it's hard to gauge what you're getting with a 2-rock because they've made so many different models of amplifiers over the years.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I swear that they've made 2 completely different amplifiers with very similar names. And you're just like, what am I doing here? Basically 2-rock, in order to buy one, you have to plug into it before you decide to buy it.
Yep.
And just to keep going, they have a Supersonic 22 that's overpriced at $750.
Yep. That's overpriced.
I would say $650 would be in the ballpark for that. A couple of here's another thing. If you're a listener to the show and you know more about Jet City and the different models, they have a JCA 212 RC, which is, my understanding, is kind of a Soldano thing, because they were designed by Mike Soldano,
right?
And I would be totally like, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that or not. I'd be interested, but again, it's an import, and who knows if it's any good on the inside.
I would want to play it just to see. But
here's an amp company you don't hear about anymore: a used Crankenstein.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's right. Cranks were big right up into the 2000s.
You know who was behind Crank?
Yeah, it wasn't
an investment partner. Not just behind it; he was putting a lot of money up for that company. It was Dimebag Darrell.
Yeah, I was going to say Dimebag Darrell, right?
He used the Crank amps all over the Damage Plan record.
Yep.
As a sales advertisement, basically.
Yeah, because at that time, Randall was shoving Dimebag's face name at everybody's
Well, they
face.
forced him into that Randall Warhead thing that he hated.
Yeah, he did not like
loathed those things.
Did he, correct me if I'm wrong, I know somebody did this. Didn't he go out with Randall heads but not have them plugged in, was actually using
a little bit of misnomer there. He did use the Warhead. He only used it for clean. He actually had the Randall Centuries that he'd been using for years back behind the Warheads on the stage so that you couldn't see.
He was hiding up that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because there's no way that the what the hell do they call that thing? The Warheads were as good as what he was using years ago. And the thing is that Randall couldn't produce those anymore. They wanted to make
why did they stop?
Clone that, and it's because they're not RoHS compliant, so you can't get the parts for them anymore. And a lot of the parts that they had used in the original design were phased out in the late '80s. So to build, an accurate copy, you would have to really redesign the circuit because a lot of the parts there's not direct replacements. So here's the whole thing. They could have spent the money in R&D. Eventually, they came out with that Dime amp. And my understanding was that was actually Randall, right? I mean, they came out with
that's right.
And no, it may not have been. So here's another little thing. If you didn't know, Randall and Washburn are connected. And I don't know exactly what the connection is, whether they're the same company or whether they're backed by the same investors. But they're very connected. And so his deal with Washburn went hand in hand with his deal with Randall Amps.
Yep.
When he broke off with Randall and Washburn, it was more about the fact that they gave him an amp that he didn't like. He actually liked the Washburn guitars, but you got to remember the guitars he was getting were not the ones that were you could buy in the store. They were custom shop through and through, built by master luthiers, and they were good, high quality pieces. Whereas if you were to go to the store and buy one, you could buy $100 or $179 copy of his guitar that was nothing like what he was playing.
No, it was.
Yeah. So I don't know. To continue on here, they have a Dr. Z 6545.
Now going back to that Crankenstein.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't that unfinished when Dimebag passed?
I believe that was the Dean Razorback guitar is what you're thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
Because he actually used these. He used the Crank on Damage Plan's record. So
that's right. But he, I knew he used the amp, but I wasn't sure if that was a prototype that he used.
No, I think they were actually. I could be wrong on that, and somebody can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that they were actually being sold when that album was released.
Okay, because I wasn't sure about the timing. That was so close, the timeline of that,
Well,
and the fact that Crankenstein. I remember seeing Crank amps in the back of like Guitar World and Guitar One,
and everybody was hooked up by them. Everyone, and that was because he had a big part in the AR.
Now, who was the actual like? Crank obviously was the company that was being called Crank, but who was the actual designer of those? Because he didn't really design them.
No, he didn't at all. They probably farmed it out to different engineers. Yeah. I'm gonna look at Crank amplification, see if we can get a.
You never hear about them anymore, and yet they were killer as far as that type of amp.
I don't think the company's around anymore. I think they fell apart.
So, that could be. Oh,
Tony Crank was the actual.
Yeah, there you go.
Owner. But he was not the. So he was the owner, but he was taking money from other people as a major investor.
Right.
So, just to give you another couple amps that are here, Dr. Z 6545. That's 1300. I guess a little bit pricey myself. Red Knot Fender for 250.
How much did they say, Dr. Z? What was it? The 35?
6545.
6545. Yeah, that's an
earlier one, I think.
Yeah, and that's how much? 35 or 13?
1300. I for $1,000, man. I see them going on eBay all the time for $1,000 for a head.
Yeah. So, I would buy the Crankenstein.
Yeah, so what was the price on that?
If I was a metal guy.
Oh, they suck. No, I've heard a lot of people say they're garbage.
Really?
$680.
Yeah, that's $599 in Pittsburgh.
They just weren't well built. I mean, that was basically the complaints that I've heard. So
really,
yeah, they were kind of cheap and chintzy. They were inexpensive. They were like for a 100-watt tube head, you could get them for about $1,000.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't be surprised to find out they were manufactured in China. Not that makes any difference, but I'm just saying like they were doing what they could to make those things cheap.
I'm looking. It says "Made in the USA" right in the back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but they may be assembled here from boards made elsewhere, and that's
right.
More than likely the case. Mesa Boogie Royal Atlantic. That's $1,000.
Well, there has to be a reason they went out of business.
Yeah, well, I think it's just poor management.
You see, the problem is I heard a couple. Obviously, I don't play metal, but I heard a couple of guys playing these in the early. What was it? 2000, maybe 5, 6.
Yeah,
and they were. Did he pass in 2003? Maybe I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so. It would have been 2003 or 2004 because it was like right after I was in college when it happened.
So yeah, right around 2005, they were still a popular amp, and a lot of people liked them because they're tighter. Their tube, they've got a lot of punch, but they were tighter because what is it? I think it's the opposite of what you would expect.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know really the technical details of them. I do know I've seen shootouts done with them and dual rectifiers and triple rectifiers, and they get smoked. They don't sound as good. And the other thing is even the 5150 just totally demolishes this thing. So,
oh yeah, the 5150. I think that was the amp that killed it. Really,
the 5150 existed already. So I mean,
in popularity, the 5150 was what?
They're ubiquitous.
Price tag.
They're cheap.
Exactly.
Man.
That's what I'm saying. They had a inexpensive price tag, and they had a hell of a sound. And with Eddie Van Halen behind them, it was just a no-brainer for.
Well, I mean, like, so right now you can go get a 6505 plus 112 60-watt combo for $800.
Oh,
that's yeah. I mean, it's just
that is nothing.
Yeah, it's peanuts for what you get there. So
yep.
And then if you want the 120 watt head, it's $1,300, which is not horrendous.
Nope, that's not bad.
And that's for the 6505 plus. Just the regular 6505, 120 watt head, $900. That's reverb money for a true high gain head.
Yep.
And they do even today. They sound great. So the cabinets are a little pricey. $900 for a cab for a 412.
Yep.
But yeah, you can get a whole half stack for $1,700.
Wow.
That's not.
I didn't. You see, you almost never see them around here because honestly, I think the reason that I don't see a lot of good stuff is I only get down there like some weekdays, but usually weekends. By the
Yeah.
time I get there, everything is picked over.
Well, I think a lot of the 6505 crowd is based in like the metal areas. So you'd
Yep.
find them in like upstate New York, maybe like Florida, around Pensacola,
Yeah.
places like that, where the death metal scene is.
Yeah.
Death metal guys love those things because of the tight attack. They're
Yep.
one of the few amps that kind of crosses over into that solid state attack territory,
Yeah.
which I think is why they're so popular. And then you'll find them in the LA scene, of course.
Well, that's what the crank was supposed to be. It was that tightness in the.
I don't see a ton of these around, to be honest with you. Not even here. So
Nope.
I see a lot of new ones, but I think the guys around here, if you buy one, you keep it. And
That's what I was going to say.
So
I think a lot of people do that
because they're inexpensive enough that like it almost doesn't make sense to sell one off.
Yep.
Oh man, that's really compelling. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm thinking about selling my Helix and getting a 6505. You can get the micro head used for $375.
Jeez.
Yeah, dude, that's like really compelling because I could get that in a really nice Mesa cab to pair with it for like under $1,000. That's Helix money right there.
Well under $1,000.
Yeah. So I'll have to think that over. I've been talking. Not that my wife is involved in my gear sessions, but she's my counselor. So I've been talking about like, should I do this? Do you think this is a good idea? Like
I see
out of this.
I see a keyboard in the background there.
Oh,
So-
that's my daughter's. That's her 7 or 64 key or whatever we got her last Christmas.
Oh,
So it's just out of her room because I was cleaning her room. So
gotcha.
there's that. You probably can't see it. The headstock is being obscured. That crappy guitar over there on the floor.
Yes, I see it.
That is.
I saw it earlier.
Ibanez shithole. S stands for shithole.
Here's a suggestion I would make. I just either block or remove the trim, put in a hardtail, and go. Because I mean, it's not
trim though. If I'm gonna have it, I might as well have the fucking trim.
Yeah, but it's going to be. I don't know. I think it's going to be more worry than it's or more problems.
I got the trim working.
We'll
It
see.
works fine now. I just got to find a bar that works for it. So it's not the bar. Like I can get a bar all day long that works for that guitar, and I have some that work. But I think it makes more sense to just throw in the Floyd Rose arm, so it's adjustable and it's not going to have any play, and I don't have to worry about like trying to find a replacement arm if it breaks.
Yeah, I like the Floyd Rose arm in that one too.
Yeah, they're inexpensive. You can get them for $15.
Yeah, because then you can position anywhere you want and do your thing.
Yeah, and if I sell this piece of crap at some point, or I'm not going to sell the guitar, but I might part out the parts.
Right.
I can probably sell that bridge, just the bridge, for like $50 or $60.
Yeah.
So I mean, at some point, I may part it out.
I saw you live earlier, and Stephen Ray Conrad asked, "How much did you pay for that thing?"
Nothing.
No, for the guitar. Oh, that's right. That's
Nothing,
what he needs to realize. You realize. Well, you paid
originally paid $279, I think.
Yep.
You'd have to go back and listen to the episode. I'm not going to pull up my eBay account and look.
Yeah,
it was like between $270 and $350.
Yeah.
And what you got to understand is when I got that guitar, I thought it was going to be not in good shape, but better shape.
Than
and
it is.
Not have a fucking 4-inch crack that went into the tremolo cavity.
Yeah. And so that I was going to respond to him, but I wanted you to respond to him here.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, if you didn't know that, that's why this guitar keeps appearing on our Instagram feed and other things. It's
like a bad penny.
It is, and it won't go away. I tried to get rid of it. I wanted my conscience cleared. Now I've got this guy's guitar. He's not responding to any communications with me. I'm trying to give it back to him.
Your conscience should be clear.
This has been going on for about 2 months at this point. So at this point, I'm just like, it's mine.
Yep.
The amount of time and hassle I've spent on this thing, it's mine as far as I'm concerned.
I think he tried to dump his garbage.
Yeah, I think he did too. And I think he got caught, and now he's in trouble financially because of it, because he's got to pay for the shipping cost.
Because he would have to pay
for the shipping, and it didn't even get to him, which is just asinine. Which is probably why he doesn't respond to me, because at this point he's like, man, if I have to pay shipping again, like it just doesn't make any sense. And you're absolutely right. It doesn't make any sense. And you shouldn't have listed this thing. period.
That's absolutely
You
right.
should have parted it out like I'll probably end up doing on down the road, where it's just
Well,
it's
some people don't want to part stuff out. So I'm going to tell you. So I've got a couple of NGDs while we're talking.
yeah.
And so I actually picked up in the last few days. I picked up a loop station because I had one. I wasn't crazy about it. I got rid of it, and then I got it back. And I'm going to tell you why I got it back and I kept it. So the RC3, the Boss RC3 loop station. What I didn't realize, so the reason I didn't like it before was when you step on it, it starts recording, right? And when you step on it again, it starts recording a loop. It starts recording.
That should be configurable. There should be a setting for that.
You have to tap it twice. So then I said, geez, that sucks. Why can't you make it so you can just tap it once and be done? Well, you can.
Yeah.
And you can configure it.
So
now here's the story though. I actually wound up saving myself money. So I had returned the other one, which I bought used for $90. And a guy had one up on Facebook Marketplace for $60. And I said, will you take 40? And he said, yes. And I said, because first I said, he goes, the reason I knew that he would take less is because he goes, I said, is it still available? He goes, yes. And I go, where do you want to meet? And he goes, well, I don't have any, because I saw he also had his truck listed for sale.
I don't have any transportation.
My truck isn't working. And I go, I know, because I saw your truck for sale.
Yeah.
And so I said, will you take 40 for it? So I saved $50 buying it again, used. Perfect condition, brand new condition. And then, today I saw a DS1. And so, as I told Dave, I'm going to start building the pedal board of crappy pedals. And it's going to start with this. And so I'm going to go pick up. I also told Dave about this. They've got a metal, what is it called, Dave? The metal muff.
The metal muff with top boost.
With top boost. And it's absolutely horrendous.
Robert will love you for that.
Yeah,
Robert's Guitar Dungeon. He will love you for that.
Yeah, so I'm going to pick that up locally. I'm going to add that to the board of crap. And I need to find a crappy board. So here's what we David and I came up with in our discussion earlier today. Here's a pedal that's hard to find crappy. A delay.
Yep.
It's hard to find a crappy delay.
Because it's
go ahead.
So ask yourself while we're having this discussion before we get deep into this.
Right.
What is a bad delay? What is a delay that you cannot stand? And unless you're like some crazy connoisseur, I can't think of one.
I can't think of one I hate. I mean, I think of some that, I'm not so crazy about that. Like with the one I have to get a thing to do the tap tempo. I got to have a separate, thing, but I can still do it. And I really, but the fact of the matter is that, in all reality, delays are pretty much just repeaters, right? I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Well, so the character of the repeats and the quality of the repeats are directly, correlate with that. But generally speaking, you say a delay has character, and it's the character you like. So like if it's a tape style character, or if it's an analog character, or, so as long as it works for the purpose of what you're doing, then it's fair game. And I've never come across a delay where I'm like, that's terrible. I don't want that. So,
yep.
I just sent Jim while we're talking about this.
He did.
I'm looking on.
You fucking troll.
I'm still like going around Reverb right now, and I came across the Mark Tremonti lunchbox head.
Yep.
And I haven't played one yet, so I want to kind of compare it to a 6505. I have to think about that.
I have. Okay, so I have only seen them played. They got them over at Good Time. Yeah. I need to get my hands on one.
I try not to play things at Good Time because I usually end up buying them, which is a bad thing for me to do.
Yeah. And so we talked earlier. So I'm going to, in January, I am going to once again start a year of no gear. I'm going to start a 2 year of no gear.
Good luck.
So in January, this is going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult.
Jim's gonna try to outdo me. He's,
No, it's not the. Yeah, I'm not.
I'm just giving you shit.
And
Let's face it, everybody. I'm still trying to conserve, but I have failed. I failed a while ago.
Yeah.
I still feel like I failed. Whether you believe I did or not, I feel like I failed. So
yeah, well, you stayed within the rules, and the rules are the important thing.
I just bent them as hard as I could when I could.
Yeah, you may not have stayed with the intent, but you stayed with the letter of the law.
Yeah.
But anyway, on a serious note, so I spoke with David. I told him about some stuff that I had going on a personal level. So what I intend to do is in January, I intend on picking up a Boss 100 katana. And the reason is to do these demos and to bring more visuals to the channel, start doing some Instagram stuff, start doing some other stuff. Which I have a couple. I have to start. I was rehearsing today so that I can, because I am one of those people. I will not just pull out a guitar and play for you. I'm sorry. I'm not that kind of person. Anyway, so for the, I'm getting the katana for that. I'm actually thinking I will leave that at the rehearsal place and keep my amp one here because I really want the amp one here because I think
that's a good idea.
More to the pedals and really reacts better than some. No offense to the katana, but a solid state.
I completely agree, Jim. I own one, and it's good with pedals, but it's not as good a pedal platform as I've heard people make it out to be.
Right.
Frankly, I have never experienced an amp that I felt was a quote unquote good pedal platform. So
no, because there are levels of transparency. There's all kinds.
They're all different, and frankly, not every pedal needs to be played through a super clean amp that sounds a certain way. Right. I mean, I most of what I do is coloring dirty amps, and so for me, it's like as long as the amp's dirty and I got enough tone control on the pedal to make it do what I want, I'll be happy.
And most of us, I mean. The live folks, most of, and I'm not talking about country music because in country music it's a completely different thing, or in jazz music, which by the way I forgot how great a Roland chorus sounded until I was listening to
anything by the Police ever.
Well, yeah, but that pedal show, they asked, okay, what are two horrible platforms, pedal platforms, and everybody told them, oh, the Roland chorus.
Oh, bullshit.
Chorus. And I was like,
bullshit. Absolute bullshit.
And they said the same thing. They did it and they said, we can't make this amp sound bad.
That's complete fabrication.
And then the other one was, art. The other one didn't sound terrible at all, but it was a different thing. But anyway, so I'm going to get the Boss Katana pretty much for rehearsals and to be a backup in case something happens with the amp one. But I got to tell you, I love the amp one. Now, those of you who know about the amp one might know that there was a new one released a few months after I bought mine.
Yeah,
it's called the Amp One Mercury. Well, in several interviews with Thomas Blug, he specifies that the Amp One that is for that he put out already, and the Mercury is just for those pedal players, those really, really high gain players that needed a tighter.
He tightened up pretty much all of the drive channels in there. The only thing is, I listened to the clips. They don't really sound any different to me.
Yeah, to me.
So I think he just tweaked it and got a 3% gain because that's what people were looking for.
Yep.
And so that's why he's making a running change and just being like, well, they're all going to be Mercury from now on.
And the funny thing is, he says, if you do this, and he says in one of the interviews I saw with him, he goes, if you do this, it's an Amp One. The Mercury doesn't even affect it. It's just the Amp One.
Yeah.
And pretty much he goes, and I love the Amp One because that's the way that it's voiced the way I wanted to voice it, and he showed his, that Marshall that he showed us when we interviewed.
Right.
So,
it was a KT66 loaded Marshall Plexi. Well, it might have been JTM45, but anyway, the whole thing is, I think I'm glad that you like the Amp One. I think the Amp One
Love it.
shines at being a Marshall clone,
Yep.
being the best possible Marshall you can get with using the fewest possible tubes in a super compact package. Jim, can you tell the difference between that and the tube amp?
No,
No.
honestly,
And
no.
I honestly said the same thing when I heard it. I was like, I didn't know where the sound was coming from.
Yeah, it's incredible. This amplifier. Well, you say between it and a tube amp, and of course, he will remind you, and I can remind everybody. This is a tube amp.
Well, it's got a tube in the power section that does some sort of trickery, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, there is a tube in it.
But he did side by sides with Paul Henning and Glenn Fricker.
A bunch of different dudes
in Paul Henning's thing. And when he did the thing where he would switch it and he put his hand over the switch.
Yeah, he couldn't tell.
Paul Henning could not tell the difference between his Soldano, between his Marshalls, between his
Did you do the Friedmans too? I thought he did Friedmans.
That's what I was trying to come up, because I was about to say BE and Dirty Shirley, but I wanted to say just in the So he had several different amps, and even only one of them where he was like, okay, and then Blue makes a couple little adjustments, because you've got all these fine adjustments that they're not right there. That is the thing about this amp, folks. If you get one and you look at the side of it, you see a whole
bunch. That's your EQ.
There's a lot of things in there that you're like, oh, well, I only have these knobs. No, you also have all these fine adjustments you can make.
Yeah.
And so you can fine adjust this into the amp that you have, and then all those knobs are, it's just honestly, this is not one of those things where people are like, oh, it's
blowing smoke for no reason.
Right. It's not snake oil. This is the real thing.
They're legit amps. I'm really shocked at how good they sound, because I'd heard about them a while before I saw them at Gear Fest.
Well, I had been sitting down practicing, right? And I've been using my little orange you see back there.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I'm gonna bring my amp home to practice. And so that's I set that thing up, and I had my pedals out, and we'll talk about the other new.
Yeah. Well, I think we already talked about the group, but okay, we will.
Right, because not all the listeners are in the group, and not all the group, So
why not? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. Why not? Join
the Facebook group.
Join us. Make fun of us. Do something. Join us. We're like the board.
Resistance is futile.
Yep, that's it. So what was this? Oh, so when I was doing this today, and I was playing these parts that I was having so much trouble, I was like, oh, this just sounds weak. This doesn't sound quite right. Then I had my pedals. I had amp one, and I had my 1x12 cab, and I played. I went, oh, that was the problem. And it isn't because I'm reliant on gear, folks. It's just that when you're playing through a 1x8
through a little 1x8 with a solid state preamp that does not sound good,
it sucks. And you don't appreciate what you're missing.
No.
You get into this. And that's the other thing about the Amp One, folks. If you need to, you can not only can you put the headphones on, you can run it into your computer.
Yeah, you can
run it into your stereo. You can run it into your PA thing, whatever you want to do, and you can actually turn this down. Now, I won't lie to you. I won't say it sounds the same at low volumes, because it doesn't.
No, even they've said that now, though. It's like you really have to drive it hard.
Because it's about the speaker. You're pushing the speaker.
Well, if you get that foot controller with the power soak on it, that's a big deal.
I got to be honest. That is a huge consideration for me for when I turn off my year of no gear or my 2 years of no gear, because the things that I want to add to this, after playing with it today and having so much, because I talked to David earlier today. I said, I want to go 2 years because I won't have a car payment. I'll have some other things so I'm going to go and just put that money aside. So I have a lot of money to spend at once, right? A lot. And I want to get I was talking about a custom guitar. And so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I was thinking about custom amp. And I thought to myself, I really don't want a custom amp. I just don't care. I want the rest of the Amp One system. I want the system. I want the what do they call it? The IR thing?
Yeah, the blue box. You know what?
Yep.
Honestly, like I'm kind of in your boat right now too, because I'm thinking about these other amps, and it's going to come down between a 6505, a the Mark Tremonti amp, the 15-watt lunchbox, and
Yep.
probably a they get the PRS Archon 25, I think, as well,
Ooh.
and the amp one. It's going to be one of those, probably one of those three.
Yep.
I honestly think the amp one is one of those things that it has not taken off in the States, but it should have. I mean, I don't understand why, because we look at it in the States. There's a lot of guitar players over here who are super traditionalist.
Yep.
And they're the ones that are like, oh, what do you mean you took the headstock off that guitar? Or what do you mean you want to use these new tubes that nobody's ever heard of? And balk at things like that.
Yep. What do you mean you want to run your strings from the headstock to the tuning pegs instead of the other way?
Yeah, right.
What do you mean you've got ball ends on both ends of your tuning strings?
Yeah, this is totally different.
You?
That fucking sounds terrible. How dare you put a tummy cut in that Les Paul? How dare you? You know, the list goes on. So
how dare you run a distortion pedal before your Big Muff? Okay, so that's
topic number 2. Thank you.
That brings us to topic number 2 is the Big Muff. So
did you run that thing into the amp one?
Oh God, yes.
And is it good?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. So I figured you'd been running through crap this afternoon when we were talking. And I was like, yeah, just wait. I know he's gonna come back and he's gonna be like, okay, now I get it.
Well, the only time I'd ever used a fuzz was with Fender. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It was front end of Fender.
It's fuzzy as shit, and they're not meant for it.
No, and it sounded like a truck that lost its muffler and was farting. It just sounded like, but it didn't have any. There was no tightness to it. There's a certain something to be said about the fartiness of a Fender, or of a muff, or of a fuzz. That's what fuzz is. Kind of.
It's like a very broadband distortion. I mean,
right? That really wide thing going on. But when I cranked this, I cranked the amp one because I wanted to hear what did it sound like. And the first thing that happened was when I cranked that, I had the muff because the settings have been dialed back a bit. Let's just say that. I dialed the sustain back just a tad, and I brought that level back a tad because wow, that thing is monster. But I'll tell you, you're right. I sat down with David Gilmour's Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, which here's the sheet music right here.
Yeah, so
you can't see it, but it's off screen.
Yeah, I believe you. I know you're a dedicated Floyd fan, so
dedicated Floyd. So I said, all right, I know for a fact that that Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 was a Les Paul tracked into the board, and then they ran that into his
massive rig of like Doom.
So I knew it was this right here, humbuckers, folks. So I played the 3 guitars into that muff. Guess which one sounded best? So we're talking about SG, the
2 PRSs. You got the SC and the CE. I'm going to say it was the SG.
It sounded incredible.
Yep.
Sounded
so it's pickups.
Incredible. They all sounded great. I'm not gonna lie to you. Talk about some singing, searing, sustain. I knew because every time I do that, you know that double bend that he does, where he'll hold the note that he bends, he's holding it, and then he bends again.
Yep.
Then he bends,
and it never backs off.
No,
like the volume stays constant, and
right. And so there are 2 things that are key to the way he gets it. Is number 1, he's always messing with his volume. So as one of the things he does is as he gets into that, he brings the volume up a little bit, but then when he gets that second one, brings that volume up just that much more, compresses and sustains that sound, then backs it down a little bit, and then plays the other notes. And that's why it kind of slows down. You'll notice that, and so when I did that thing responded exactly that way. I always thought it was because I was missing it in compression. I thought I didn't have enough distortion. I thought I didn't have it was
they had the wrong pedal.
I didn't even have the compressor on.
I know.
And that thing just sang, just like, oh. and the skies parted up, and all of a sudden I said, look at the light. See the light?
Yeah.
The light came down, and then all of a sudden I was like, this is what I was missing when it came to that. Wait until I do that. So we, just to give the audience a little background on this, in the band I'm in, we do mostly dance and yacht rock kind of stuff. But I talked them
for that too.
Yeah, and I talked them into adding Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 into this funk thing. So we're doing Baby, do it right, do it, baby, yeah, baby tonight, and it's got, and then we go to a Jungle Love thing, right? That might be Jungle Love. I don't know those types of stuff. I just play what I hear. And then I said, hey, we're in D minor, and it's got that.
Yeah.
I said, listen, just keep playing it. Just keep playing it. So the band was keep playing. I said, we don't need no education. And they were like, yeah, it works. And then, we did the Another Brick in the Wall. And then I started playing the solo. And they were like, oh, that's good. They are going to freak when they hear this pedal doing that song. That's what's going to happen. And that's going to blow their effing minds.
So a couple of things that you need to know about using muffs in general. A lot of the boutique muffs, and there's a ton of them. I mean, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, you can investigate some other ones.
Okay.
But what you're going to find, Jim, is that a lot of the boutique ones emphasize the mid-range because muffs will disappear in a mix if you're not careful and you don't know. It depends on what amp you're using. It's a big part of it. Like, I know a lot of guys who use them in Fender amps, and they're like, oh, I can't hear myself in the mixes because that amp's already scooped and the fuzz is scooped. So what happens is you have no mids rather than at least some coming through. I have my go-to muff for a lot of stuff is the Barber Trifecta, and it has a push-pull pot for the tone knob, and it gives you this gigantic mid boost. And I just leave that thing pulled the whole time because I know that if I'm not using that, and I've used that in live setting too before, by the way, and I know if I don't have that, it's gonna do some things that I'm not comfortable with. So, but you're running it into a Marshall style amp. I mean, it's gonna sound fine.
Yeah, it's going into the front end of the Vintage, which is the Marshall style,
right,
sound, and then it's going into a Hughes and Kettner 1x12 cabinet, closed back, and then I'm using the neck pickup on about 6, 5 or 6, and I only turn it up to 8 or 9 when I'm doing those, like I said, those double bends. Then I bring it back down. The only time I do the bridge pickup is when I'm past the 9th fret, going back down the neck. Then I pop it back to the bridge pickup.
I love fuzz in general with a neck pickup. And I'll play anything on a fuzz with a neck pick. I don't care. But it's just one of those sounds that it kind of defies the context of what a guitar is supposed to sound like in the modern context. And that's, it doesn't really scream so much as it moans and wails. And I can get my guitars to do things with that neck pickup that I can't with the bridge pickup, specifically with a fuzz. Like, for example, if I'm going to play some rhythm stuff, I can really get some almost sounding like an old broken tube amp kind of sounds doing that. But the fuzzes I play are completely different than what you play, Jim, because I mean, I don't play a lot of humbuckers. So I want something that's going to sound like, my amp's going to explode.
Exactly.
That's why I go to fuzz faces. They sound broken and it's all good for that.
And that's the other thing. Dave and I have talked about that in the past, is that a humbucker obviously is a lot hotter. It's got more mid-range. So you're going to get that out of a humbucker. The other thing I wanted to talk about that I'm starting to fall back in love with, believe it or not, at first I was like, I was talking to you today earlier about my Blues Driver. And I said, I had Wampler do it. And did I make a mistake giving it? So I plugged it in today.
Yeah.
And there's 2 things. The one, I played around with it with the gain and found a spot, and I found a sweet spot that I really, really dig. I mean, I really like about this thing. I think that's what Wampler did to it, was making the change to make there's a very sweet place right there. I dialed it, boop, 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 and I found it, and it was like, oh, that's a killer spot. That's a killer. And I think the mistake I was making before was, again, I get to where I leave my main amp at the rehearsal space, and I use my, I use a smaller amp at home, and then I go, geez, this sounds like dog shit. And that's really where I made my mistake, I think. But stacked that with the muff, you have to hear that.
It's cool. It's cool. But I can tell you right now, and this is just because I know a lot of other people do this too. This is the pedal you want to stack with a muff.
You know what? That's exactly what I was going to say. I
held up a Tube Screamer Mini, by the way.
He did. And that's the thing. I'm thinking about getting a Tube Screamer Mini now. So if you think about
I'm going to send you this one anyway. So what are you worried about? I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
All right.
I'm hoping. Actually, I'm kind of hanging on to this because I want to shoot it out with. I don't know. The boost in the Pinnacle is supposed to be very Tube Screamer-esque, so I kind of want to compare.
Don't you?
I may not even end up doing that. So
did you have the Pinnacle?
I still do.
Right. That's what I mean. You had the Pinnacle because you were kind of the amp in the box type thing.
Yeah, I wanted something I could go to open mics with. I haven't gone to one yet. I bought it 6 months ago, and I haven't even. There's just too much going on right now. So hopefully, I'm
gonna grab something. Keep talking for 20 seconds, because let me tell you something. There's an amp in a box thing, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's right here on the other side of this door. Hold on a second.
All right. So he's gonna make me talk. So I'm gonna say some nasty stuff about Jim. Jim is such a jerk off this show. I mean, I can't even deal with him most of the time. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there.
Making fun of me, like behind
I don't know what you're talking about. You're the most, you get along so well with me all the time. It's just wonderful.
There you go. There's your
the MTS 15
powerhouse. The Tremonti. But anyway,
I don't know if I want to buy it because his name's on it. Like, not that Tremonti's a bad player, but it's one of those things.
I know. So today I got my new Guitar World, The Last Days of Hair Metal. There's a book coming out about the whole 80s metal scene. And
shit, that means I got to shave my head off.
Yep. And the 3 songs in it I thought were cool. Motley Crue, Van Halen. I'm not so sure about this one, though. What is it? Albert Lee, but it's Country Boy by Albert Lee. So that's a lot of that. It's a lot of picking. And I'm not really that good at it, but I would go ahead and try it just to do my thing.
Just to see what happens.
But anyway, in here, I didn't get to this part where I got Framus, Master Belt guitar, because I want to talk more about that in a minute. But so in the front of it, I thought of you instantaneously when I saw this ad, and not the one for this, which is that's an interesting looking.
The Grand Canyon, yeah.
Grand Canyon. That's an interesting looking
reverb delay thing.
Yep, delay looper. It actually has a looper in it.
Yeah, it does.
I thought was interesting. But anyway, so they have this new pedal. It's an amp in a box. It's called the Ultimate Amp in a Box. Now,
who makes this?
I don't know if anybody has seen or tried this. It's by Atomic.
Oh yeah, no, I know about them. That's they're a competitor for Line 6. They're gunning for Line 6's stuff. So they used to make the Atomic amplifier thing, which was the
I remember those
in it, and it was like a tube amp with a speaker in it for emulation and stuff. And now they've kind of gotten into making modelers. I honestly don't think much of their modelers.
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, so this is what's different about this one. Obviously, it has it's an amp in a box. You can upload your own IRs.
Yeah, so I can do that in my Helix right now. And it's
a well. Here's the thing about this for people that are looking for an amp in a box. Like,
it might be a cool solution for other people,
like you got for the Pinnacle, is that it's standard size.
Yeah, this is not so. Having amp emulation or not amp emulation is one thing. Having speaker emulation in the box is another. Because when you go to an open mic, you're not plugging directly to the PA.
Well, that's what this is for. You got XLR out. Right.
Good luck with that. Right. See how the sound guy likes it.
Or you can go to the amp.
And that's where...
Amp, and you got XLR.
But then I can get any cheap modeler and do the same thing. I mean, that's... You know what I mean? So it's like...
I know, but not a lot of cheap modelers do the uploaded.
Well, no. But I'm saying, like, if you're going to use it for the purposes I would, like, it really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Actually, the tool that makes a lot of sense for what I want to do is the IMP1, because you can go to line out and run that into the effects loop of an amplifier.
That's right. Run it to the send of the amplifier and just go from there, and you're bypassing the preamp of the amplifier.
You got it. So that's a thought. Well, one of the reasons why I'm kind of falling out of love with the Helix is because the loops on it, it's such a pain in the ass to set up for using a fuzz in the loop, because those loops are buffered. You have to. There's no way to just turn the buffer off. Number one, which that should be, if you're going to use loops for pedals to patch in, for the love of God, give us the ability to turn the buffer off. Number two, I think they have to have the buffer because there's AD conversion going on. Number two is, inside this thing, there is an impedance matching function, but getting it to work so that when you press the button that turns your fuzz on is a nightmare. I mean, you literally have to either change multiple parameters with one stomp, or you have to set it so that you're using a scene, so snapshots, which are okay, but it's something I shouldn't have to do. There should just be a thing in there where I can say, you know what, loop one is going to always be used for fuzz, and I'll just put a fuzz label on it, turn the buffer off.
Yep.
And it should be as simple as hitting the buffer switch right next to the plugs, and not something that I have to mess around with in the software. I mean, you put ground lift switches. Why can't you have a buffer on off? And what I know, it's because there's AD conversion. It's got to be what's going on there. And that brings me back to the fact I used to have the ES8. My ES8, expensive as it was, and as big of a nightmare as it was to program that thing, I could literally just say buffer off. Problem solved, and do that for an individual patch, and like just clone that patch throughout the unit. I suppose I could do the same thing with the Helix, but I feel like I'm not getting the full gamut of what it can do, because I'm limiting myself to, like, okay, so really I only need like 2 amp sounds, and I need like a couple of pedals. And really the only reason I'm even thinking of selling right now is because I'm like, well, really I only play 2 genres anyway, right? I play like bluesy, classic rock, bluesy, jazzy, classic rock stuff, and then I'm starting to play a lot more metal and that modern tonality stuff. So I need a modern amp, which I already have in a Mark V, and I need a classic amp, which I also have in the Mark V. So if I get another amp, it's probably going to be a more modern amp that I can run in stereo. And it would be just a backup piece for this. So Katana works fine for that, but you put the Katana up against the Mesa. I did that video a while ago. If you put the Katana and the Mesa side by side in an actual rig, it doesn't hold up as well. And it's just because you've got real tube power and great speakers versus. And I haven't done that with my head, but I've done it with the 100-watt cabinet. I used to have the combo, and it was. You could hear them both, and they were very distinct, and they both sounded really good. But it was like one of those things. Where it's like, it would be better if I had like a mini Recto over there,
Now, is your Mark V a combo?
I got the 25-watt head. They don't do the head in it. They don't do the 25-watt in the combo.
That's what I thought.
Only. 35.
You have a head. So what's your cabinet?
I use I have the mini Recto matching cab for that with a V30 in it.
Okay, so and you've used the Katana head
through that cab. Yeah, with that cab. It's pretty bright with that head.
I would imagine it would be.
And that's the thing. Like I wanted to get a Lone Star cab.
Yep.
It'd probably be what I would go with if I get a 6505. And I think what would happen is the TV head would go on the Recto cab, and then the Mark V would go on the Lone Star cab.
Right.
And then if I have to use a Katana, that would go on the Lone Star cab as well.
Okay.
So, again, do I need 3 amps? Hell no. Which is why I'm kind of like trying to be sensible and like, I don't really want to do this. Even if I were to sell my Helix, like I'm kind of balking on it because I'm like, well, I get more mileage out of my Helix because I use it for digital recording and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I called that the fact that I'm kind of falling back in love with my blues driver, the KGD, or Keeping
Yeah.
Gear Day.
Yeah, where you're like, yeah, I'm not going to give this away. I'm not going to sell this thing.
Nope.
I would like to get hands on it, but that's
I'm going to send it to you
yeah, just to try it out and stuff.
Yeah.
Because well, and even if it doesn't happen right away, we can do it at Gearfest where I can sit down.
Yeah, I can hand it to you.
Get 20 or 30 minutes with it.
Plus, you can use it with my rig. You can play it right through my whole rig. You can play my whole rig.
I mean,
and then you can show me how it's done right.
Of pedals over here next to me, which are kind of off screen, but they're that Jason sent me that I really got to start like cooking on.
You've got to show me how to play the stuff right, because I suck.
Okay.
And
stop worrying about it, Jim. That's what your problem is.
Rotten tomatoes.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because you're like, oh, you got to show me how to do this right. Have you seen any of my videos? Have you actually watched them? I mean,
I'm talking about.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing either. You know what I do, Jim? I focus on like, I when I sit down and I play something, I'm like, I'm just going to groove for a minute, and then I'm going to do a little bit of lead stuff, and that's it. And then so I have a little note card with the settings that I'm going to use. That I will put in my pocket or put in front of me.
I want to say something though to the people that are new or club players or whatever. So I was listening to another podcast or YouTube channel or something. I don't. Anyway, I do remember, but I'm not going to give them names. And one of the musicians was playing like they've been playing. They were asking the question, "How are you making money in 2019? Which plans make money?" And how you might be a money-making musician in 2019.
Right.
And one of them tours with like Noel Gallagher, and they
sure, Oasis and all that other thing.
So right, and so he's making huge money and playing big places and stuff like that. The other guy in the thing was playing clubs. Like he was talking about the fact that he's playing like 30 people, and he goes, "Yeah, some of them hold up to like 60."
Yeah,
and I wanted to say, "Wow."
Well, I mean, a lot of places I used to play
down. I'm putting it down. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, wow. And you're worried about. I watch other videos of him, like all this specific stuff he's worried about with his rig. I'm like, playing to 60 people in a.
Yeah, you got it. That's what I was going to point out. Like I used to play in clubs like that, and I think my obsession with gear is not born out of that. I think it's born out of the fact that like I want to have the right tool for the job and not have to switch things because I want things to be consistent. So. Yes. There's something to say about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm that guy that would have like gone into a club with, like the holds like 30 people and people get knifed in the back, and I'd have my PRS, CE and like the $2,000 half stack behind me and the really expensive pedal board with the switching system and the fancy snake and all that. I would be that guy. That's
what's going to happen is one of these days I'm going to make the mistake of playing through the 1960A?
Yeah. You know what though, Jim?
And then I'm going to remember, oh shit, this sounds so good.
No. I'll tell you right now, because even if it sounds good, you're going to remember right away. I don't want to carry that fucker.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I was going to say. But I do not want to move that son of a bitch.
Yeah, they're freaking heavy as hell.
Even if you've got to go up 2 steps.
Well, and the reality is even your modern 1968 cabs are not built like they were. They don't use the same marine grade, plywood and all that they used to.
No, they're using shittier stuff.
So, I mean, yeah, you can get one. I mean, it's going to be 75% as good, but it's still not, And the other thing, I think a lot of that is the fact that the older speakers, they're all different. If you've ever watched Johan Segborn where he goes through and shows like, hey, these are 4 1968 cabs, and they're all loaded with different speakers from the same year, and you're like, what? And they're like, no, these are factory original, and you're like, how? And
exactly.
that was the way they used to do it. They didn't care what was in them. So,
right.
But when you listen to them, what you'll see is that like you'll pick up really quickly that like every cabinet that they were putting out sounded completely different, and it wasn't just the speakers. It was the wood, it was, glue and everything else that was going on back then. And the construction methods pretty much remain the same. And I'm sure the modern ones are constructed very much in the same manner. It's just that what we are allowed to use in electronic componentry has changed. So even the stuff that they put in speakers and the quality of the copper and all that has changed. And RoHS compliance is a big part of that too. because you can't ship things with shitty capacitors that are going to destroy the environment.
And people who don't know what RoHS is, look at the back of a piece of electronic equipment. It'll say ROHS.
Yeah, if it's made past 1990, you're going to find RoHS on it somewhere.
Yeah.
But
that's what he's talking.
I digress. I totally get what you're saying about the 412 cap, because I just stole mine like a year ago. So
I don't want to play one, realize how much I miss it, and then crap, I can't. Like you said, you can't lift it, you can't carry it.
You need to check out the Fat Cab from Thomas Blug.
That's just it. That's going to be part of the Blug integration and complete immersion. So let's go to our other thing we were talking about, which is customization, customized. So, like I was saying to you,
I'm working on the Ibanez right now. That's what this is born out of.
Yep. So he's working on the Ibanez. I'm working on the Squire, and I do have some artwork that will surprise everyone, including David, that I want to get done. And not that David won't know what it's supposed to be, but not what it looks like, because I've told him what it is, but I haven't told him what it looks like, and it's kind of cool. It used to be my Facebook profile, believe it or not. So if you dig far enough into my Facebook profile pictures, you can find it, I think.
I won't reveal anything to anyone.
Yeah. So moving right along. What we were talking about is I said, I want to spend 2 years saving up a lot of money, so I have a good amount of money to go out and not have to worry about a ceiling. I just want
get what he wants and not have to worry about, hey, I really shouldn't spend this extra $1,000 on this.
Right. Or, oh man, this is $1,500 more than that.
No, Jim wants a number one. That's what Jim wants. He wants to find the perfect guitar, and he doesn't think he's going to find it. He thinks he's going to create it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's possible for me. And we talked earlier, and everybody is different. And I don't want to poo-poo anybody's dreams or anybody else's thing.
Yeah, because certainly some people have an emotional attachment to an instrument, and that's more important than it being perfect for their playing style.
That's right. I've been watching the what is his name, Mick from That Pedal Show, and he's been on like this quest for the perfect Strat, and he keeps getting drawn back.
Looking for a really freaking long time because there's a lot of them out there.
Here's the thing, people. If you like Strats, you know what the perfect Strat is? Strat. And the thing is that, like, now I'm not going to say anything because I know that you really, really, really like G&Ls.
I like Strats in general, man. I favor the G&Ls because I think the quality for dollar ratio is way higher. But
right. But if you had, if money was not the object, if you had to do that, would you choose a high end G&L? And I'm not talking about going out custom. I'm talking about if you were looking at you could buy it in the store, you can order it online,
like
whatever.
CLF research or whatever, right? I got you.
Right. Would you buy a G&L or would you buy the Strat?
I would probably buy the G&L because I like the bridge better.
Yeah. Now see, and that's exactly right. Your perfect Strat is already a G&L.
Yeah, because I mean, I gravitated towards them because there were certain things I found myself doing to the Strats I had.
Yep.
And I was like, this kind of solves some of those problems. So,
and believe it or not, Mick from Pedal Show, who gave G&L a very fair shake. And personally, all the shootouts that I've seen lately, Anderton's did one, Pedal Show did it, a few other places. I preferred the G&L sound.
Yeah, most people do.
I'm not playing it, and I'm not in the room, but I will say that every single one that I've heard, I've said, you know what, the G&L sounds better than the Strat. And because of those, what do they call those pickups? They have a name.
You talking about the MFDs?
The MFDs.
Yeah, that's why I got my S500.
Yep. And, you know, there is something to be said for them because you can back them down enough to turn them into a very Strat.
And if you turn them up, they get humbucker-esque.
Yeah, they can be
crazy how much output they have, and it's crazy how fat they sound.
And so you can bring that neck back, turn that thing into a true Stratocaster.
We've talked about it on the show. I mean, I favor those. I have two S500s. I favor them. Yeah. Just to give you a little bit of background, when I first started playing guitar, I had a red Samick, humbucker single, like.
Yep.
it was a trash guitar. I had one of those, and I played it for like a year, and my guitar instructor played it. He had a G&L S500 actually, which is almost identical to the Ash one I have. That's why I ordered it the way I did. And I played his. He gave it to me in a lesson one time, and he says, "Here, play this one." And so I played it for about a good 5 or 10 minutes, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's what I want out of the pickups." And I went back and I played, because the next guitar I bought was I had an Ibanez somewhere in there, and then I bought a Fender Jimmy Vaughn Strat, and I was not happy with the sound of that guitar. I was like, "What the hell is this?" It didn't sound anything like any of my other guitars. It didn't sound like any of the sounds I liked. And so I kept going back to like the Gino S500, being like, "Man, that guitar, there's something special about it." Of course, I didn't know anything about gear at that time, so I'm like, I don't know what's causing that. But now, having bought the S500s and played a bunch of them over the years, that was like 20 years ago at this point. I now understand why, and it's all the pickups, and those pickups were super versatile, and that's why he had one, because he was a PRS guy, man. He didn't even have he had like, I think he had 2 PRSs, and then he had like a Telecaster, and he had the S500.
Yep.
So, and his S500, he basically wore that thing out, like his fingernails had like dug into the fretboard. It was a maple neck, and it would look like it would just been through a war.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that I've found as a side note, that playing with my own rig, my touch is so much lighter, because it can be, than playing with a crappy rig.
Yeah, because you have to muscle your way through it.
Exactly. It almost becomes acoustic in the playing style to try to get rid of it. But anyway, like what you were just saying. So I had always thought that the Les Paul, which I do love the sound of a Les Paul with a burst bucker in it, by the way.
Yeah.
Those who don't know, I love.
He's had one. I mean,
yeah.
and he would probably buy another one.
3, and I will probably buy another one
if it was not an absurd amount of money for one.
But I'll talk about what I will do to it, because we talked about that this afternoon.
Yeah, I know.
But that's why I will get a cheap one. That's definitely a player. So anyway, ever since I saw Paul Reed Smith, and I didn't see Paul Reed Smith. I saw them but I didn't know who they were. I was telling David, I was that guy that I would play something, I like the sound of it, I used it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I had. I didn't know, pickups from it. I knew, when I was a kid, Gibson, Fender. That's what I knew. Yeah. And I owned not a Dan Electro, a Silver Tom.
Right.
And I've told the story about the Silver Tom.
Yep.
And I've had Gibson, and I've had Yamaha, and I've had, just about everything. Squire. I've had the Epiphones. I have the Gibson, real Gibsons. This is my first SG ever, by the way, of any kind.
No, it's your second.
Oh, that's right. It is my second. Well, it's the first one I kept.
Yeah, it's the first one you actually kept for more than a couple of weeks.
Yeah, because I returned my other one, which by the way is back in Guitar Center. And I was like, it's $1,000.
Well, you know what they say, that a good guitar is a good guitar, and a dog shit guitar is a dog shit guitar, and those are the ones that get passed around.
That's right, and that's what happens. And so I don't want to. I'm looking at it, going, do I want to? So anyway, I know what I did wrong the last time I tried the SG, so I know what I'm doing right. But anyway, again, it comes to what you've got for a rig, like what you were talking about. You got the Jimmy Vaughn Strat, which should have sounded great. It was a Jimmy Vaughn Strat. But what happened?
I'm shaking my head no. So it was okay. It has the Tex-Mex pickups in it, which are supposed to be like a little bit higher quality single coil. And for the time, they probably were better than what they were putting out on the cheaper guitars.
What was that, like 2004?
Yeah, the only pickup in there is actually decent is the bridge pickup, and I did not want a bridge single coil at that time. That was the big thing. So, but the other 2 pickups are garbage. They're still in the guitar. They're garbage.
You still have it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I refretted it.
Yeah.
I put jumbo frets on it.
Oh, that's good. And that came with medium frets, didn't it?
Oh no, it came with small vintage.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I wore them out.
Ugh. Oh,
yeah,
I can't.
I wore them out like 3 or 4 years. I wore them out.
Yeah, that would be easy. I don't understand where anybody. I mean, I understand where people want vintage guitars, but I don't get small frets at all. I don't understand
Some people like to feel the fretboard. I am the complete opposite.
I don't want to.
Scallop that bitch.
Yep. Yep. I want jumbo frets. I want them to be fat. I want them to be big, and I want to not feel the fretboard.
We breed dogs for specific purposes, and
yep.
we build guitars for specific purposes, and that's not my purpose. So,
yeah. So as we were talking earlier today, I said to him, I said, you know what? I hate to admit, because my again, I didn't ever see really a PRS until I knew that there were guitars that Alex Lifeson would pull out during certain things that I would say, oh, no wonder what that is. I did not know
really
the PRS I was looking at.
Yeah, like that looks really cool.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't have known a PRS from. I knew a humbucker from a single coil on a record. If you pulled out a single coil record or a humbucker record, I could say, oh, that's single coil. That's But I really wasn't familiar with the different humbuckers or the different guitars. So anyway, I'd seen different people, and then all of a sudden, somebody said to me, they said, "Man, you should try a PRS."
And that was back in the total dark age too, though, Jim. Like there were magazines and stuff, but like the ease of information at your fingertips about what a player's using and what the pickups sound like just did not exist.
It was not there. And a sound sample? Are you shitting me?
Oh,
other than a record.
Listen to this real audio file.
Right, but not like a stem. You weren't going to hear an isolated guitar track.
Yeah.
You weren't going to have, unless you were lucky enough to see Alex Lifeson solo, you weren't going to hear what he sounded like by himself anyway.
Right. That's why clinics were so important back then.
Oh yeah, they were huge, much huger. And I still think they're important. I just think we've lost why they're important. But anyway, so a friend of mine said, try a PRS. And I said, which one should I try? Because it was really there was really only three. There was the, and I say that because there had been others.
Yeah, there was the single cut, the custom 22 and 24, right?
You got it. And then they
had like the EG and then the Santana and then like some other guitars that they produced. But if you were going into a PRS dealer, there was a really good chance what you were going to see were custom 22s, 24s, and single cuts.
That's right. And the highest chance of those guitars was the 24. Second highest was the 22. The last one was the single cut. Because believe it or not, you would sit on a waiting list, which is what I was on a waiting list for a single cut. This was 2001 or 2002.
Yeah, that's right about the time of the information age, which is when the waiting list started. Because people were like figuring this stuff out,
And I told David, I was actually on a waiting list for a Dragon. I came off of it. But that was going to be the one that I was going to get. I was going to spend way too much money on a guitar that I would never be able to use at a gig because it cost as much as a car at the time. And so, long story short, I did finally get my hands on a single cut, and I got a custom 22. I played those for a long time. I still got my single cut. Went from the custom 22 to the 24. The only reason I didn't like that custom 22 was the pickup. Back in the day, he had a rotary pickup instead of a blade.
Yeah, he was doing the Bernie Rico type thing, but using a rotary for the pickup selector.
You never knew what pickup you were on by looking at it, but you knew by sound, but you didn't know by look, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass.
I thought they had numbers. They had numbers on them.
It did. It was just like a volume switch.
Look down and see the. Well, the thing is,
I didn't know where it was
on a dark stage.
On a dark stage,
know what the hell you were doing.
Nope.
That was a really bad idea.
What I had done was I had put glow in the dark marking on the thing.
The ones you used, yeah.
And I put a little glow in the dark dot on the guitar. And then the guy that bought it off, that kind of devalues a guitar. Oh, blow it out your ass.
I'll be like, here, let me help you. Some sandpaper, some steel wool, and polish it up.
Here, wipe it off with my thumb, like your mother when you got some on your chin. So I can say this after all that time, and Paul Reed Smith, and there are a lot of people who have said the same thing. PRS is making better guitars now than they were. unlike a lot of companies where they keep trying to go back and make the guitar they used to make.
I agree with you, Jim, myself, but there are a lot of people out there who say the opposite.
Yeah,
And I think they're just the collector mentality. I think a lot of people base how good something is on how much it costs. And so if you look at some of these collector pieces that came out of that period, and really before that, like in the mid-90s, that's where that's coming from. And I just kind of laugh because I'm like, for real? You really think that when they were building them all by hand, they were as good and consistent? Because that's what gets me. It's like that 70 Strat argument. Oh, well, 70 Strats aren't as bad as people think they are because you have the one good one. You know, like I'll be honest with you, if you dig through them, you're gonna play a lot of crap before you find a good one.
Well, come on, the 50 stuff, the 60 stuff, I don't care what you talk about. I think we've mentioned this before. If you've got 4 people who are sanding down guitars, and back then routing out guitars with like pencil marks on the thing, and you're making your cuts along that. And then you got people that are, the arch top was like this. That's how you made it. And so, Joey would be over here doing it this way, and Jeannie'd be doing it this way. And Jeannie had softer hands and a lighter touch, and maybe her on Tuesday, her sandpaper was a little more worn down.
Well, let's be honest. The example you're giving, though, is not a tonality thing.
I know, but I'm talking about
but that's what I'm saying.
The collectors don't give a shit.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, though. It's like a lot of the things that people are like, oh, that's what makes those original PRSs so great. It's bullshit in terms of actually. If you're a player and you're going to pick it up and play it, you don't give a fuck about that.
Right. You know what you care about? You care about what the pickups sound like.
Is it reliable? Does it sound good? Does it have resale value?
That's right. Does it stay in tune? Are you breaking strings all over the place? Does it play night after night after night? Are you fighting with it in a good or a bad way? Those are the things. Because there are people that say, I love to fight with my guitar.
I'm tired.
That's right. But
even he's gotten out of it. We know who said that. Jack White. He's playing freaking EVH guitars now.
Yeah, the guy who I could never play a guitar for more than $500. Oh yeah, okay, Jack. Because I'm sure those EVHs are $500 to you.
There's another name. There's another name that we can attach to his first name that would work out really well.
Sure,
Jack Ass.
Yes, but he brought in the resurgence of shit guitars, and then this whole hipster movement of this shit guitar. You know what? If that shit guitar sounds good to you, that's awesome.
That's fine. Seriously. But I do have to step back and say, before Jack White, that shit was seen as garbage.
That's right.
And you might find super collectors out there, but there were really guys that wanted to be collecting Fenders or Gibsons, and they didn't have the money. So they were like, oh, I'll get this other esoteric guitar brand that not only a lot of people see value in. That kind of stuff happens.
Right.
And that's okay. I'm not faulting those people. Somebody's going to collect those guitars. And honestly, I think that there is some valid stuff out there, about museum quality and, just playing them on stage. It's no big deal. If that's your jam, that's your jam. But let's take a step back and not try to force everybody to do that.
Right. And not force everybody to think, oh, if you get a Fender Squire, whatever, it's just as good. Don't remember, but I will say this, that kind of flips the coin for us. And the fact is that now the stuff coming out of Indonesia, the stuff coming out of Korea, the stuff that coming out of overseas, with the exception of, Cortec, some, not all, some of the Chinese places even, it's consistent. Every single guitar is pretty much going to sound the same. And what I was getting at with Jeannie and her rubbing with the sandpaper, she was also the one over there winding the bobbins.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she might have been like, you can't see me, but I'm kind of falling asleep while I'm sitting here and drinking coffee. Oh shit! I let that thing go.
Or I need a cigarette.
Yeah, go out for a cigarette break. That thing's still going.
Yeah, you come back in, the counter is like 500 more wines. You're like, I don't know if it's going to fit in the cover, but
Whoops, clip.
whatever.
and then she maybe goes back and unwinds a couple, which you never know. You never know what happened when it occurred in that one special pickup, in that one special guitar that came out.
I mean, that stuff's all made mechanically now in a lot of cases. So if you do go overseas, it'll be consistent, but it'll be consistently good or consistently bad.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, so Philip McKnight does a thing where he talks about what the difference between guitars made in China stuff is. And a lot of it's the metal quality. Metallurgy is a big part of it. Species of woods. Just because it's mahogany doesn't mean it's the same kind of mahogany. And that's a huge thing. I've been reading about the different kinds of Carina, mahogany, and just basically where they get sourced from, who grows them, old growth versus new growth, the differences in grain structure and things like that occur based on different.
Now, those people who are Patreons will have the opportunity to listen to me go on about genetics in wood
eventually.
But
soon, yes, I got to dig out that episode. It's on my to-do list.
But here's the thing, and I'm gonna go into that, but not into the depth I did there. That is Patreon only, because you've got to be ready for some not ready for prime time viewing.
Yeah. One of those things. You're gonna have to send a disclaimer before you watch that.
Exactly, and you cannot share that with people that you don't have the right to share it.
Like on Vimeo, because I think I can lock it down. We don't have a Vimeo account yet, but I'll make one, and I think I can lock it down so that you have to have a password to view it. Yeah. And so the way we'll structure is, if you're a Patreon, you want to see it, you're gonna have to give me the password so then I can brief you on how we're going to handle this, because there is definitely some stuff in there that needs to remain private.
Right. But here's the thing that anyone who is in forestry will tell you. So right now, the trees that are growing in some forests that we're reusing, because remember, the same woods we're building guitars out of, they're also building furniture, and they're building other houses. They're building a lot of things out of. And those are really the things that are like, if all they ever built was guitars out rosewood with guitars, you wouldn't lose that much rosewood. But they build rosewood a lot of other things too. But anyway, so because it's not just the tonal qualities that people like. So now they're like GMO. It's just like the GMO and the cow thing. Okay, we're growing cows faster. I know, because I was in the dairy field, and the companies weren't telling us, because this was the 70s and 80s, folks. They weren't always telling us what they gave us, and so they'd say, "Oh, use these in your grains. Use this fertilizer. Use in your fields. Add this to your corns. Here's the seeds we want you to use. How fast is this going? And if you do that, and this is the way they would trick us. They would say, if you do that, we'll give you money back.
Get extra money, right?
And guess who gave you that money back? The government. So the government would give us money back. Of course, you get kickbacks from the from Agway and the other companies that were in cahoots. So the forestry was going through the same thing. It was always paper. Paper companies were they were just laying waste. If you think that the rainforest was getting laid waste, you should see upstate New York. Yeah, it was just you would go out one day and whoa, it's great. These fields are wonderful.
Next day, you're driving through an empty field.
It was a big muddy field, because it's with all these things with wheels bigger than your car were going through and taking the wood out and just getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So now we've got this, and then of course, people, rightfully so. I use the word hippie because I'm just old. But all these hipsters, we gotta. So they were right. We got to get the trees back. So we got to make them grow faster. And those of you out in California, you know about the California redwoods. And so,
they're basically doing tree eugenics outside of a laboratory in some cases, and then inside the laboratory, they're modifying them genetically, whatever they got to do to make them grow faster. But the truth is.
And so if you look at the inside, and this is the thing that these forestry people were showing guitar manufacturers, so if you look at the inside of a trunk, this is what Paul Reed Smith knows, because he's like, this is where I'm getting these woods for these guitars and so on and so forth. If you look at it, you can see how much tighter the rings are on an old non-GMO, if I can use that
Yeah.
word. I know it's
Well,
not
it's old
correct,
growth.
but
It's old growth is what they call it. But
right, the old growth tree versus the new growth tree and that sparseness. You cannot tell me if tone wood matters, that sparseness in the wood doesn't matter.
right.
So, and I'm not saying that tone wood and sparseness in the wood matters. I'm not taking that leap. But to acoustic builders like Bob Taylor and who's the guy, Martin, and even Gibson,
A lot more
we're making
important to those than the rest of us.
a lot more.
But as far as your custom guitar goes, let's get back on the regular topic here. So you're talking about going to PRS, getting a really expensive sky's the limit kind of guitar.
But I'm not, and that was the thing. I think that what I'll wind up doing is just getting another CE, just in some weird color that I.
Yeah, you're gonna get the artist package, and you probably won't get a CE. You'll probably get a custom,
right,
or something. But you'll get it. But you'll get the artist package and pick your exclusive color and some 5A top and that kind of stuff.
Yep. Oh, 10 top.
There's a lot of companies out there right now, and I know because I've been doing some of my own excursions and just talking to small builders and things like that lately. There's a lot of companies out there that can offer you. We talked about this today.
That's right.
A lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah.
But it's such a minefield to navigate that because you get all these builders that are buying things in China and then saying that they're produced here, and you get these guys that are assembling guitars and calling it made in America. You get guys that are, amateur luthiers doing amateur hour.
Yeah.
And so the warranty may not be good because you don't know, if you
don't know, the fly-by-night company will be there to give you that.
I don't want to put it, I don't want to attach faces, but so we'll make this fake builder. His name's going to be Johnny B. And if I'm going to go to Johnny B and I'm going to get a guitar and Johnny B says, okay, it's going to be a 2-month wait for me to build your guitar. And you're going to pay me X amount of dollars, which is we'll say $3,000. And I'm going to take, once it's done, I'll deliver it to you. I get the guitar. I play it for a couple weeks. I realize that there's something really wrong with the neck pocket and the guitar is going to have to be scrapped. So I go back to him and I say, I want to invoke the warranty. Now, Johnny B only has like 3 to 4 orders a month, or he might have 10 orders a month or 20 orders a month. But Johnny B says, well, you have a warranty, but it's going to take me 3 months to catch up with you. And so I'm going to have to build you another one.
Yep.
And then you're out 4 months or 5 months. So now you're almost a half a year where you've waited on your build. And that's the stuff that frightens me. It's not that I know I know I'll be taken care of by these small builders. Most of them are true to their word. And that's how they stake themselves in their reputation. But the question is, what if there's a problem? What if I have to sell it for some reason? That's a scary, scary thought. Hopefully if you're in the market of getting a custom guitar, you're to the point where you're like, now I got enough money and this guitar is going to be buried with me. And that's the reason I'm ordering a custom guitar. And
that's the other side of it is, and we talked about this too. My bucket list has been to have a customized PRS. And it's the same as, hey, I want to go to, the other thing on my bucket list, by the way, is to go to New Zealand. And somebody could say, hey, you know what? You could go to the Alps. It's the same thing.
No,
it's not.
No,
and I've been to the Alps. But I'm just saying, so they could say, oh, you go to custom, mountain range, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing. It's not. All across.
I could come at this as a completely different angle. I don't have an ideal guitar. I think different tools for different jobs. And because I play a bunch of different jobs, that means I have to have a bunch of different tools. So there's a mindset that I go into when I go to the store and I pick up a guitar and play it. And I go, well, what is this going to do for me? Meaning, like, how is this going to fit into what I'm doing right now? And if it might be a great guitar, killer instrument, where I go, yeah, but I don't need a Supro guitar because I don't really do anything that's going to need this. And so I'll back off and put it away. And that's the way I approach a lot of things. Now, I have a very specific genre of music I'm looking at that's kind of driving a lot of my builder conversations. and the types of builders that I was talking to, and that has to do with the fact that I'm looking for a 7-string, with a particular feature set,
Yep.
and so that's driven a lot of that conversation. But it's just it's a strange situation to be in where you know exactly what you want, and I think we've all been there where I know exactly what I want when I go to get a guitar, but nobody makes it. And that's why these custom houses still exist, or you have like the artist package from PRS,
Right.
because there are still situations in cases where if you really want something specific, you're going to have to go talk to somebody and have them make it for you,
Right.
and it's going to cost. And
Yeah.
is that valid? I mean, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm not the guy that's going to tell you that you should just pick one off the shelf. You'll figure it out. Like, you're doing it wrong if you have to go custom. Let's face it. The cost of a guitar these days for professional level guitarist wanting what would be considered, the cream of the crop instrument is 3,000 plus. I mean, that's
Yep.
where we're at. Sir
That's
makes
right.
guitars in the 3,000 plus range. Gibson makes guitars in the 3,000 plus range.
Anderson's still doing it.
Fender makes guitars in the 3,000 plus range. You're going to
Yep.
custom shop at that point.
Yep.
Anderson, all the other big companies right now that are, sought after by people like Guthrie Govan and all those different guys, are, they're 3,000 plus. Hell, the Ibanez Gem,
3,000 plus.
it's a $3,000 guitar. I mean, honestly, I looked at it and went, that's not worth $3,000. It's a great instrument, but it's not worth $3,000.
Nope.
There is some premium on that price tag.
There is definitely.
And I would think probably, I don't know what the Satriani model costs.
Part of that cost of that gem is going to buy Steve Vai a new couch.
Yeah, and same thing for the same thing for the Satriani model and all the other artist models, even for that matter.
The Satriani model, though, I'm going to say this now. I'm not.
That's because you like it. It's not because it's.
No. I want to say that. No, I'm not going to get one. I'm just saying that when it comes to those models, that Petrucci, Vai, Sir makes some Govan's thing.
Not anymore.
Right?
He's a Charvel guy.
He's a Charvel guy.
Time ago. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
I thought he was a Shure guy.
No, he left because Shure couldn't produce some guitars fast enough.
Wow. Anyway, these guys, they have the one thing about the Satriani model that I will say is it's damn sexy. The curves on that guitar are just sexy.
Okay, Jeff Kiesel.
No, it is so round.
We talked about this.
No, it's not.
Ooh, they got curves.
That's why I don't like. That's why I don't like the Gem. If you would say to me,
play that Albert Lee model. You know the guitar I'm talking about, right?
Yes, the Gem reminds me of an old Telly. It's a block of wood with no curves.
It's got curves on it. What are you talking about?
Not the way that
because the body isn't shaped and contoured. Go play your fucking Les Paul. This stuff's totally unnecessary.
That's the only thing about the SG that I'm not crazy about is the fact that
I know because you're like, I said they have curves.
I know it's weird. It's weird. I'm not saying it's weird. Okay, so that's exactly when you come to me, I'm flipping the coin on you because
I know.
For me, the customization on a guitar isn't worth the money in a resale value. It's just not. Because what I want to customize, pickups are going to stay the same. The neck's going to stay the same. The body is going to stay pretty much the same. What's going to change? Some colors, maybe a
custom finish.
Custom finish. I might customize the birds because they do in the custom shop.
Yeah, they have a bunch of different options for that.
Yeah, cooler birds. The way the birds
lay like you get perloider on the edges, and I know all the crazy.
And that kind of thing is the only thing and that's not something. Why should somebody pay? And that's the thing about the custom 24s that are 10 top and all this other shit. If you're buying a 10 top and you're buying it because you're still buying a piece of art, you're not buying the guitar because it sounds better than the custom 24 that's sitting next to it.
Yeah, I mean, once you're getting into talking about a 10 top, you're talking about aesthetics. You're paying $1,000 extra for aesthetics, and
$1,000 for a 10 top, yeah, at least in the used market.
Oh, I no, I see.
I
Him,
mean, extra.
I've seen him new for only $1,000 more. So
Yeah.
in some cases, so I think it's a highly subjective thing. If people are willing to pay for aesthetics, I personally,
Tank
I
top
could
is
care less.
is a subjective thing.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
difference between a 10 top and a not 10 top.
is one guy says I like this one better.
Exactly. By the guy that picked out said, nope, that's a 10 top.
Well, I told you, Jim, like when I was looking at PRSs, my whole thing is I like the ugly ones. I like the ones that have a lot of character to them because those are the ones you remember. And so, I mean, when you see that perfect flame or the perfect quilt, I don't give a crap. Like it's cool to look at for about 15 seconds, and then I'm like, I lose interest. So I like solid color guitars of all things. So I mean, I'm not the
Right
guy
there.
to ask about this.
Right there.
Yeah.
And I saw one at Guitar Center today. It's black.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know you're not. Did you say you weren't crazy about black guitars?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
They're okay. I don't. I haven't. If I was gonna buy another SG, I'd probably buy ebony just to complete the set.
Yep, I'm thinking that I may get an ebony one later because that black one does look really, really cool. But
I hate that. You know, can we stop for a second? I hate the fact that Gibson does that, where they're going to offer Pelham Blue, but you can only get it for like Music 123 or something like that. Oh,
you know what else
ridiculous.
I hate? You know what else I hate? Stop changing the fucking thing every year. Stop putting a different set of pickups every year because I got that's a 2017. Okay, in a 2017 standard, the pickups were this and this.
Well, wait a minute. So that big guard SG you got, is that a 2016 or is that a 2019?
Right. Yeah. And so my ESG's got the classic 57s, which was a 2017. The 2018 had another set of pickups. Now the 2019 has a 61 something pickup in it.
Yeah. It's like it's getting absurd. And it's going to be really hard for the collectors to keep up with what's been installed and what. And there's guitars floating around out there that are like 2018 model years with 2017 pickups in them. Yep. And that's going to be a real nightmare when collectors go to start buying and verifying these guitars in 50 years or whatever it is. To be honest with you, they're producing so many guitars now. I think this era is the end of the collector's era because going into 20 years from now, it's going to be saturated. There's going to be so many different damn guitars out there. Of like if you go get an SG, I mean, you basically will shake the tree and like 10 of them will fall down.
The truth of the matter is, I think the SGs, a lot of the SGs are overpriced.
Yeah, they are. Like right now, to get a standard for like $1,600.
Oh, it's incredible!
Are you insane?
That's ridiculous.
It's not a carved top. It doesn't have binding on the body. Okay, it doesn't have a fancy like inlay work on the headstock. It doesn't have fancy inlays at all.
The standard is got to be cheaper to make than the studio Les Paul.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. Maybe the argument is the plank of mahogany you have to cut for the neck or something because the neck tenon is I don't know, but I'm just saying on the surface it sure looks like $1,500 is way too much money for that style.
Yeah, to me, the top end of an SG should be right in the $1,200-$1,300 range. Now, you were talking about that the guitar that you tour with, so that goes along with a lot of these things that I've been watching lately, and they all agree with me because I was talking about the guitars that I used on a daily basis, and when I say they agree with me, they didn't say, "Hey, Jim was right." No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, he's saying that these guitars Jim can interchangeably swap guitars for what he's doing.
Right.
And you like them all.
Right. And here's the other thing that they said. A good guitar is, just like you said, a good guitar is a good guitar. Doesn't matter whether you spent $200 on it or $2,000 or $20,000 on it. A good guitar is the one that plays night after night, that stays in tune, isn't breaking strings, and that you...
Well, I have a theory on that. And that is when you pay those higher prices versus the lower prices, all you're paying is for better quality control. Now, we all know that's not true.
To a point.
We know that's not true, though, because we know the pickups on the Squire are not the same as the pickups in your USA Fender. or other brand. We know that the metal they use to cast the bridges, whether the bridge is cast or whether the bridge is bent,
Yep.
all those different things play into that.
That's right.
And so part of me is like, yeah, that's true to a point. But again, you can always upgrade those parts, but then you're
That's right.
paying more, and that's the whole point. So price is not just a quality control thing, like you're not paying for quality control, but at some point in the lineup you are. At some point you hit that price point where you're like, okay, now I'm just paying for it to make sure that this guitar is more consistent.
Right. Obviously, you're not going to pay $200 for a brand new guitar, and that's going to be your guitar. Usually, that's the guitar you can depend on night after night.
I've seen, there's a pro, and I wish I could find the video because it was talked about on No Guitar is Safe, and I can't find the episode. I've been looking for it for a while. Where there's a pro that a lot of people really respect who's playing Squier Affinity Strats, no customization, literally going out on stage, plugging it in, and using it stock, and that's
I couldn't do it. I told you why. I hate the fretboard on that thing. I hate the frets on it. Now, I might be able to get it to work for me, and I will get it to work for me. But that's going to be a labor of love, not a labor of, a labor of pain.
There's going to be some bitching going on while you're doing that. Let's be honest.
So, but what I'm getting at is you can take a guitar, like the two that I have behind me there, the three that I have behind me are all, two of them are sub 1,000.
Yeah.
One was because it was used, right? The SG was used sub 1,000. It
would have been only $1,200 new.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I think because the Pelham Blue was only American,
right.
American 133, it was like $1,400, but it doesn't matter. If it wasn't the Pelham Blue, you're right. It would have been $1,200. Absolutely. And the CE goes used for about $1,200.
Yeah.
So if you're right in the $1,000 range right here, right? I've got $3,000 would have bought all three, would easily buy all three of these guitars right here for a day after day after day gig. You don't need a $3,000 guitar. If something happens to one of these, you're not out several $1,000s.
Yeah.
You're not out a piece that truly, but that gets to that. What is the difference between recording and live and everything else? And I'm a live guy. I'm not a recording guy. I don't need a $25,000 guitar.
I mean, at this point, I haven't recorded anything in probably a year. I would consider myself a bedroom player at this point. And I'm still buying guitars that are significantly more value than I'm bringing in playing music.
Yeah.
And so for me, like this S500 I have hanging on the wall outside the frame here it was $1,300 or $1,400, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a tour right now, I take this one and I take my blue one, and that's it.
Yep.
I don't need another guitar with me.
Right. I would take those two right there. Those because they're different.
PRSs. Oh no, the PRS SG.
Yep.
The CE.
SG.
Okay.
I would probably take the SE and the SG. Yeah. That's the two I would tour with. I would leave the CE at home, not because I don't like it, but because I know that if something happened to the SE or something happened to the SG, I can replace them. Although I'd rather have, I'm waiting for that guy to do just like Rich did, put one on Facebook Marketplace I get for about $600 and then pick that one up. That's the one I want to get. That's the one I'm waiting for. Is the cherry red or the is it heritage cherry?
I have heritage cherry.
Right now. Or the ebony because I like the heritage cherry.
You wouldn't like mine though because it's a big guard.
Oh, I wouldn't care. I'm talking about one that's a workhorse.
Well, it's not for sale anyway, so.
No. I know yours isn't. I'm talking about if I found a $600 standard, it was in good shape.
Shit, if I sold mine for $600, I would barely have lost any money.
Yeah.
I would have lost like $200.
Yeah.
Which is,
and so they're out there.
Par for the course. I mean, I bought mine new for like $800 or $900.
Yeah.
So,
well,
this is the model year, but
yeah, this thing is in new condition. It's still in new condition. I don't play it as much as I should, but that comes to the fact that is the guitar I take to every rehearsal right there.
Yeah,
CE. Every rehearsal goes to CE. I've taken that 2 or 3 times, the SE, and I've taken the SG maybe 2 or 3 times, and that's it.
You know,
It's
Jim, can we talk for just a second before we end the episode
yeah.
about the fact that you've had an SG and then you took it back.
Yep.
Now you have another SG.
Yep.
And then the SE with the Floyd, you had one.
Yep. Took
and
it
then
back.
You took it back, and now you have another one.
Well, let's talk about the other things that I had, took back, and I have another one. Right? The Boss RC3.
Yeah.
the DS1. I think I've had about 50 of them.
Yeah, those things are ubiquitous too. Like if you ever do a Craigslist deal with somebody, you're like, I really don't think I can spend that amount of money on this, and then they're like, I'll throw in a DS1. You're like,
I can't tell you how many Les Pauls I've had. I keep falling in love with them. So that's what. Let's end with this. So I was talking to David earlier about what I want to do with a Les Paul. I want to buy a player's Les Paul, and I mean a true player's Les Paul, one that's
broken headstock and all,
beat to shit. It had a broken headstock, been fixed, all this other stuff. Don't care. Want to pick it up for like $300-400. And the reason that I want to do that, some estate sale or some dumb shit like that,
because he's going to take a drill.
I'm going to take a
dentist.
I am going to be. I want to be a dentist. It's that time of year that everybody's seen that movie. I want to take a Dremel and just, and I want to do what Billy Gibbons did to it. I want to route it out to within an inch of its life.
Yeah, he's going to take a bandsaw. He's going to chop the back of it off and turn it into a veneer. And then he's going to go inside the guitar and he's going to take out everything except for the pickup cavities.
And that's you think I'm kidding. He's actually right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You have to leave a little bit for structural integrity.
Yes.
but
if you've ever seen Billy Gibbons' favorite Les Paul, that's
have you ever heard of a hollow body?
And somebody would probably say to me, well, just get a hollow body Les Paul. No, that's not as fun.
I knew a guy years ago. I met him at a gig, and he had like a 335 copy, and he filled it with like socks and shit. Because he was like, well, this makes it like a solid body. And I'm like, not really. I was like, no.
What an idiot.
Like, no, that's not what that does at all.
Oh, and that's the other thing. So that's another thing. I can't remember if it was Billy Gibbons or who it was, but they took the neck and they sanded the shit out of it until it was really thin on a Les Paul.
Yeah.
Until it was super thin.
Well, I would totally. So if I was going to get a Les Paul made, I don't know who I would go to get one, but my first request would be, give me a C-shaped neck. I cannot stand D-shaped necks. I just can't.
The V-shape?
The D shape.
The deep shape, yeah.
Well, it's the U or whatever they call it, but I consider it a D. It's like a 2x4 with rounded edges. The reason why I don't like that shape is probably shaped mostly by this, sheer mechanics of my hands and how they work. But I have never bonded with a guitar with a real deep D-shaped neck, and it's just because the transition for me to go from one of my Strats to one of those guitars, which the one that comes to mind is that Steinberger I had. That thing, the neck on it was like, it had to be 2 inches wide. I mean, it was ridiculous. That Les Paul I played recently, the one with the baseball bat, it was slightly smaller than that. And it was not the right neck shape for that guitar at all. Because I just remember thinking, like, why would you take the Steinberger, which is a guitar known for like modern players in the 80s, and then give it this like ridiculously vintage style neck? But that's part of the reason why I ended up sold. So, well,
yeah. So anyway, everybody, I want to wish you happy holidays.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about Christmas and the holiday that's impending for tomorrow. Whatever you celebrate, Festivus, or whatever it happens to be, we hope that you have a good one, and that as long as your celebration is a nonviolent one, that we are, open and accepting and give you your support and, wish you the best in your endeavors. So, yep.
So I've been Jim.
And I have been David.
We've been
the practically politically correct guitarists.